I think it's very telling the length to which so many Christians are going to make it absolutely clear that all the verses where Jesus basically says to follow him, you must essentially give up your possessions or give up your wealth or whatever, how strongly they are trying to make it clear that that's not what he means. I swear, whenever you talk to one of these Christians about the story of Jesus and the rich young ruler, they always want to make it clear that Jesus isn't saying to give up your possessions. It's descriptive, not prescriptive, or whatever number of hoops they jump through to try to make it clear that they don't have to give up their wealth. And again, I just think it's telling that they go through so much trouble. Like this comment is on a video where another semi-popular Christian creator is addressing and stitched Sarah's video that started all of this because she was saying, how come she never sees Christians giving up their possessions like Jesus told the rich young ruler? And we look at all the other verses where Jesus seems to be saying, if you want to follow him, you need to give up what you got. What I find interesting about all this, when you bring up the question about whether or not the Bible condones slavery with a lot of these same Christians, they will say, despite the fact that there are verses that shows God giving rules on how to do slavery, they will point to all these disparate verses in other books written hundreds of years later, some in completely different testaments, to prove collectively, when you look at the whole picture, God doesn't like slavery. Despite the fact nowhere does God explicitly say, do not have slaves, except when he's talking about, for one brief time, don't have Israelite slaves. But if you were to apply that same methodology to all the verses related to what Jesus thinks about wealth and possessions, what they did in the Acts church, you can come to the conclusion that Jesus, to follow him, you need to give up your shit. And they just go out of their way, stitching videos, making all these comments. One person called her a hate monger. A person called Sarah, who's objectively one of the nicest people on this app, a hate monger because she is posing the question, why aren't Christians giving up their possessions and being completely self-giving the way all these verses say? They be telling on themselves.